Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of That Sounds Terrifying. I'm Nick, and with me, as always, is Jess. She is
Hello.
dressed to impress today. Ready for running. We are already off and running. Before we started recording, we are charged for a great episode today, aren't we, Jess?
We are, if you aren't watching the podcast, I have a hat on. It's like Hat Man, but shorter and squatter and more colorful.
And maybe a little scarier. We don't know. We'll let you be the judge of that, for sure. But we both have a couple sets of stories that we found that we want to share. It's going to be more of a typical story telling kind of episode today. And yeah, I'm excited to get going. Jess, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, yeah. I'll kick you. Let's see here. Okay, so this is called Ryan by Fire Lies, and it's on Reddit. Hello, this is my first Reddit post, but I just need to let people know. I'm a teenager from Australia, and I was talking to my mom last night, so she told me about my imaginary friend I had when I was 2, and he stayed with us until I was 4. So all of this was from the perspective of my grandmother, my mother, and my auntie. Apparently, it all started one day when I told her that I had a new friend, and his name was Ryan. My mom was confused as I was only 2 years old, and she asked where I met him, and I responded that he and his mother were sleeping on our front veranda. Veranda? Veranda. I'm going to say it like a true Rochesterian. It's a veranda.
Okay.
As any normal person as any normal person would, she asked me why they were sleeping there, and I said that they were homeless. She replied to me asking what happened to their home, and I said it was a house fire. She was at that point apparently weirded out, but it only worsened by asking her where his dad was, and my 2-year-old response was, he was the one that started the fire. After this, my mom was quite worried and I asked if Ryan and his mom could stay with us. My mom said yes. Throughout the time Ryan was with us, there were some strange things that happened. My mom explained that I used to talk to Ryan all the time, in depth, way beyond what any 2 or 3-year-old should be able to understand. And my grandmother and auntie both thought I had schizophrenia, which, by the way, I'm just going to take a time out here. That does not come out until your late 20s, usually. So that would be very odd for a 2 or 3-year-old to have that happen.
Yeah.
Um, I once told my mother about how Ryan died in the house fire that took his home in detail. Another time I was in the car and my sister sat next to me and I asked her to move and she said to Ryan she was sorry, but and moved. But my brother then sat there and said, F Ryan. And I told him, Ryan really hates you. And my mom told me that Ryan shouldn't hate. And I replied, he hopes you die, directed at my brother. Dang.
Jeez.
He apparently loved my mom since she reminded him of his mom. And he liked my sister because she was kind. But he hated my brother because he was mean. Around this time, my stepfather came back. And before any of the stuff he did that was bad, I said to my mom, Ryan doesn't like Dad. He has a bad feeling about him. So from this point, it kept getting worse, apparently. And there were things I could tell my mom that I should never have known, leading her to get into contact with a medium. The medium told my mom that she should be careful and that I am definitely sensitive and that we might have a portal in my house. Yeesh.
Mm.
The only thing I remember is telling my mom that Ryan was leaving and moving on. My mom told me that I said that Ryan's mom was telling him it was time to move on and they needed to help another boy. And that was around the time I started school. And might be unrelated, but after he left at around my being 5 or 6 years old, I used to hear speaking and stomping in my house, but the worst was the tapping in the corner of my room for an entire year. Once again, sorry if this is jumbled. It is my first post, but yes, this is all from my perspective of my relatives. And if I get told any more, I can update this and get some responses.
Ryan hates you.
Ryan hates you. He hopes you die. That's scary.
Yeah,
As a mother, I'd be like, uh-oh.
yeah, yeah. And like the fire thing, like that was probably my childhood fear number one.
Mm,
Like I had a friend down the street from me that, he was fine, but there was a huge house fire, like, and like that was fear unlocked for the rest of my like life now, right? Even now, like I have like a ladder for my daughter's room and stuff like that. So if there's something, it's just fear unlocked. But
yeah.
Ryan hates you.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
So the medium thing gets me when somebody's like, "You have a portal in your house," and like I feel like um that it could be true,
Mhm.
but I always say like, prove it.
Right.
Like I hate that when somebody's like, "And you have a portal in your house," like,
Yeah.
but for the low, low price of 5.99,
Right.
I will come and close that portal, like F that.
Yeah.
Um, so and they kind of glossed over like what the medium actually said. So, it was like just be careful and
Right.
this kid's sensitive and oh yeah, there's a portal. I don't know. And like if you're telling somebody like all that info, like, oh, my son, he's seeing this ghost. Okay, yeah, well then yeah, he's sensitive. Obviously he's sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
You don't need
you
a
know,
medium for that. I
and
think
he's
with
warning me about my husband. Well, yeah, you should be careful then because if a child is telling you,
yeah, what's going
like,
on between the child and the husband too? Like,
yeah, this is
like
where my skepticism comes out because I'm like, oh God, just don't give people with actual abilities a bad rep,
right.
like
It
stupid.
almost like whenever I hear that, and I've heard that in multiple stories, I think even we've told, like, where this house has a portal, or this house has a window
Hmm.
into the other side. And I
Hmm.
think of like, poltergeists and like outside in, walk to the light, Caroline.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
Caroline.
know, my
Yeah, yeah,
gosh.
yeah. It's so
So yeah, like the literal portal of like, like it's a window
yeah.
that you can jump through with the rope to get slimy.
I've heard some really good stories about like portals and houses. And
Hmm.
there was one, I think it was on Jim Harold's Campfire, that
Hmm.
and I've listened to it twice because I really was intrigued by it. But there was a house where a woman saw a huge bat-like creature in her house. It was like the size of a man, but looked like a bat.
Hmm.
And she saw it standing in like I can't remember if it was like a hallway or something, but she went to a medium, I think years later, and somebody said like you saw a creature. And she
Hmm.
was like, I did see a creature. And they were like, he wants you to know that he's guarding a door, like a portal in your home, and he's guarding it and seeing, letting people in or out, like spirits in or out.
Hmm.
And like basically he was like the gatekeeper, the security guard of that portal. And she was like, "Oh my God." Yeah, like it was so cool. But I was like, I love that story. I
Yeah,
love to think like if there is a portal, why don't all the portals have these
guards.
security guards? Or like did they like I don't know, are they on strike?
Yeah.
I'm not
Well, they
sure.
might be, or there's other reasons. But like going back to our last episode where we were talking about like like the family members that guide, and how like cicada and stuff like that. I want to be like a
Hmm.
red-tailed hawk or something like that. That'd be a cool job too, if like I can pick that up. Gatekeeper. I am the gatekeeper.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like a security, a paranormal security guard, like, you
Keep
know, all of a sudden like like a demon tries to get in, you're like, nah, nah,
nah.
you go back. You're not allowed in.
It's like huge freaking
Yeah.
bat. I'm the Batman of the
Yeah, yeah,
portal.
it's a
Okay.
Batman.
I'm
Yeah.
Batman. Um,
You can take on any form you
right.
want. That'd be
Whatever.
cool.
The Riddler's
Um,
not getting through here. Yeah.
but I don't know, I thought that that was so intriguing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, portals and homes, yeah, I assume they can happen because, like, again, if you're using a Ouija board or something
Right.
that can like tear open something, if you're not, using it correctly and doing the proper protections and things like that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
can happen. I just don't think that it happens that often. But
Yeah. As often as it seems to come up.
Yeah, but I don't know
Yeah.
why the mom and the son were on out on the veranda if the portal was in the house. Mm.
Hmm.
But um yeah, I thought that was a fun story.
Yeah, I like that. You ready for another one?
Yeah, are you gonna tell yours and then we'll just
Yeah,
take
we'll
turns?
alternate a little bit. That sounds like
Sounds
fun.
great.
So this one also got off of Reddit and then in no sleep, and then by the user JBZ_1. It's the in between floor. I used to laugh at urban legends, shadowy figures, cursed buildings, secret floors, just stories people tell for fun. But after what happened last night, I'm not laughing anymore. It started at 3:12 a.m. I remember the time exactly because I looked at the clock right before I sat up wide awake and my heart was pounding like I had been yanked out of a nightmare that I just could not remember. There wasn't a sound, no sirens, no knocking, nothing unusual, just a heavy, sinking feeling in my chest, like the air in the room had turned into water and I was slowly drowning in it. I couldn't shake the sense that I needed to leave, not to run away exactly, but just to go somewhere, like something was calling out to me, something in the hallway. Half asleep and completely unsettled, I opened the door to my apartment and instantly knew something was wrong. The lighting was off. The usual bright, flickering fluorescent bulbs had been replaced by something duller, a yellowish and cold looking light. Shadows clung to the ceiling. The walls looked longer, like the building had stretched out while I slept. Still half convinced I was dreaming, I stepped out and walked into the staircase at the end of the hallway. But as I turned the corner, there were no stairs, just a hallway I had never seen before. It extended far beyond where the stairwell should be. The floor was carpeted in a pattern that I didn't recognize. The walls were lined with dozens of identical colors, perfectly spaced, no labels, no numbers, nothing to indicate where any of them led. I should have turned back, but of course I didn't. I told myself had to be some sort of weird maintenance access part of the building. I just didn't notice. The deeper I went, the harder it became to move. Every step felt heavier than the last. Like the air was pressing down on me, like my breathing had turned into loud in my ears, and even the sound of my footsteps seemed swallowed by the corridor. I tried a door, but it didn't budge. I tried another, same thing. Then I felt it. This unmistakable sensation, like something was behind me, watching, waiting. I turned around slowly, and that's when I saw it. A figure. No face, no eyes, no mouth, just skin, smooth, pale, stretched tight over a long human like frame. It didn't walk, it floated, silently gliding inches above the carpet as it moved towards me. My body refused to move. I couldn't scream. I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was being pulled apart molecule by molecule. My thoughts disintegrating. The thing kept coming. No sound, no expression, just a horrible presence that pressed into every corner of my mind. Then, through my panic, a memory surfaced. The tenant's whispers, a story that passed along as a joke, but always with a nervous laugh. The in between floor, a place that shouldn't exist, a trap. I squeezed my eyes shut and backed away, one step after another and another. I didn't stop, didn't look, didn't breathe until I found something familiar, the cold metal doorknob of my apartment. I opened my eyes. I was back. The hallway was normal. The lights were bright again. The building felt real. I slammed my door, locked it, and I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. That should have been the end. But ever since then, something's been wrong. Each night, the hallway outside of my apartment feels different, like the shadows last a little longer. The silence stretches a little deeper, and the door that I don't remember being there is getting closer. One step closer every single night.
Well, dang. That's
The in between.
the in-between floor. It's
Yeah.
funny. I was just watching uh this is Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Hmm.
But it was the new revival one, the 2022 Ghost Island one.
Oh, cool.
And I watched it last night before bed actually. So I was like, oh, today's a gray, creepy day and
Let's
I
do
want
it.
to fall asleep. Yeah, so I watched
Yeah.
it and they had an in-between floor
Neat.
with like all the forgotten stuff, you
I
know.
mean, if it's a recent episode, maybe it was inspired. They inspired it off this story because this was a recent post. Um,
Yeah. It was
so,
from 2022.
oh, well, all right. Maybe they saw it too. Maybe they were up with you.
Maybe. I mean, the forgotten floors, the in-between floors are always like a nice creepy. um,
Yeah.
story. What am I trying to say? Like a story element. There we go.
Yeah.
I love
I
that.
mean, I have some experience with those things because, like, working in a college, like the numbered floors, like I don't know how often you've paid attention, but like they're always messed up. Anytime, like even if it's a brand new building, they're always like L 033 is like on the first floor, and then there's a like an underfloor, and then the first
Yeah.
floor is actually on the second floor. It's like, why can't they get numbers right? I mean,
And there's no 13
no.
still because we're all still superstitious of the number 13.
Yeah. 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 It skips the floor, like I
We
just,
don't have a 13 on our street.
oh,
And I always think about that. I'm like, was it because somebody bought a double lot or is it
yeah.
because of superstition in the 80s,
Right.
like when this was being built? I don't know. But like if you go to houses like I do all the time, it's very rare you'll see a 13.
Yeah. That's
So
true. You're right.
it's crazy. But yeah, in elevators, you won't see a 13th floor. Even though you're on the 14th floor and it is the 13th floor, you're not on
Yeah.
the...
I have been in a couple buildings that had like, the secret floor. Some of them were, like a telecommunications floor,
Mhm,
like where there's no windows, it's all server space, and like you need access to it and you have to turn a key. And like in one situation, I know there wasn't even like really a button for it.
mhm.
You had to turn the key and it would just go to it. Um, so it is creepy. And then like when those buildings are repurposed and all of a sudden you've got like this sort of secret
Extra floor.
space, extra floor that you didn't realize was there.
Some of that stuff, I'm like, I'm sure that some of it is needed for like security reasons, but sometimes I'm like, what kind of self-important person
Right.
looks like we're gonna create a floor or a room that nobody knows about? It's top secret. And you
Yeah.
know that they were like they grew up into the adult after being the kid of being like, I have a tree fort and it is top secret and
Yeah.
only people with the password can get in. And then they grow up to be the
Right.
guy who's like, I work in this IT building and
Yeah, and it's funny at some of the lengths that some of these buildings, especially government-sized buildings, because I know of a couple people that are contracted and like they purposely like build the buildings in such a way where it's very deceptive to see how many floors there are, and the
Mhm.
spacing is even kind of alternated so that you could, in theory, have a secret floor.
Yeah.
But I always think about these things like, in Hollywood style, of course, but like, the movie Independence Day, where like there's a scene where the president is like, I can assure you, there is no such secret space where,
Yeah.
as the president. And then like his like chief general or whatever was like, Mr. President, that's not entirely accurate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, like in National Treasure, the president, he's like, there is no secret code or
Yeah.
whatever. And then Nick Cage is like, I have to steal the president so I can get the secret code. And it's so funny.
Yeah.
That was a good story. It was fun. I particularly liked the part about I felt like I was being pulled apart molecule by
By molecule.
molecule.
Yeah.
That's like something my kid would say. But it
Yeah.
was creepy.
Yeah.
I'm like, what would that feel like? Can I imagine how that would feel? But man, sleep paralysis is real if that's
Right?
what that was.
Totally.
Cool. Do you want me to go next?
Yeah, why don't you do another one?
Okie dokie. Okay. This is I really do get the best names. This is from Reddit. It's by OK Bandicoot 94405. Did
Oh
you ever watch
man, that's my new screen name.
Crash Bandicoot?
Yeah.
It's my new screen name that I will use on AIM that
Just
doesn't
put like
exist
another
anymore.
underscore O one.
Yeah, oh one. OK Bandicoot. 2 nights my dad and I will never ever forget. 20 years and some change later, we still talk about it now and then. Okay, so this might be a long story, and I've never ever shared it before on Reddit, but it's 100% true. My dad can absolutely attest to it. Here it goes. This is, sorry, I just want to point out, like, that's hysterical. Like, my dad. I trust your dad. Of course, I trust your dad.
Of course. We go way back.
So, this happened when I was about 10 years old. It had always been known that my family who lived in my childhood home before us had a daughter who passed away from cancer at a very young age. She did not pass away in the house, but in a local hospital. I'd always gotten weird vibes in the house, but only in the basement. I grew up in this house from ages 3 to 18. My basement had a little makeshift basketball court in it, and I would shoot hoops nightly down there. We had a huge black stereo that I would listen to music on while shooting hoops. Sounds bougie.
Hmm.
For some reason, every single time that I had gotten done shooting hoops, I would absolutely storm up the stairs of the basement and refuse to look at this particular corner of it because I always had this feeling like I was being watched by something or someone. You know that feeling? So much to the point that I had convinced myself if I were to look in that corner while walking up the stairs, I would see someone standing there. One night, I'm losing my voice, sorry. One night, after shooting hoops, I went upstairs and got in bed to get ready for sleep. My dad and I laid down at the same exact time in separate rooms. I can't make this up. Within minutes of laying down, my dad came knocking on my door and told me that I forgot to turn the stereo off. I literally had no idea what he was talking about because I sure did. He said the stereo is absolutely blaring. He went down to the basement and the stereo was blaring in the pitch dark. This story gets even more wild. About a week later, maybe not even, I got done shooting hoops again and laid in bed. I kid you not. You can ask my dad.
I'm gonna do it.
As I laid in bed, I started hearing what sounded like bouncing. I could hear the noise coming through the vent in the corner of my room. I put my ear up to the vent, and all of a sudden, I understood what I was hearing, and I froze. My basketball was dribbling. I ran into my dad's room. He put his ear up to the vent and heard the exact same thing. He went downstairs to the basement, and this time it was still and quiet. No sound, no dribbling, just darkness. The vent in the corner of my room was directly over the corner of the basement that I had always had that super weird vibe. To this day, my dad and I will joke about it every now and then. As I said, this happened 20 years or so ago, but it's something we will both never forget, permanently etched into our memories and minds. That's for sure. I've never posted in subreddit before, and I had no idea this existed until tonight. But I'd always wanted to share this story that I experienced in my youth and thought this is the perfect place. Thanks for reading.
Man. Like the thing that got me was like me and my dad went to sleep in different rooms, completely
Yeah.
different rooms.
Yeah.
All right, at the same exact time. Like,
Yeah.
how do you know
Yeah.
this house is creepy? It's got a bunch of cameras in it. When we went back to check the footage, we were both asleep at the exact same time. We're
Both
like,
laid down. That was funny. And
yeah,
then I love that one of the comments is, I want to ask your dad.
yeah, that's exactly what we said. We're with you, user whatever. That's awesome. No, that story is like it kind of gives me vibes of like every like sort of haunting story that starts out with the ball sort of bouncing with the kid and then like the kid like hears it or whatever, but it
Yeah.
eventually gets rolled to them and that's the first big freak out. I don't know. It's like multiple movies start off that way.
Yeah. I
So
don't think that I would go back down there to play if I
yeah,
kept getting those feelings or heard my basketball dribbling.
he's got a very big routine though. I shot some hoops
Yeah,
right
I
after
gotta
that.
shoot some hoops in my basement.
Right.
No big deal.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
My
know I turned off
basement.
my stereo. Yeah, my basement was not tall enough to shoot hoops.
No, no. That's real bougie. It has a basketball court.
Yeah,
It's
in the basement.
yeah.
Man.
It was
So
next to the bowling alley, guys, okay?
yeah.
We're not rich. It's
Yeah. Yeah. And if you move the bowling alley out of the way with the button, there's a pool underneath.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like we're rich or
No,
anything. Our boat
we're
only
not
has
rich.
2 bedrooms and a
Yeah.
kitchen,
Yes.
not a full yacht.
And that's just the summer home with the basketball
Yeah,
court.
yeah. We're not rich.
Not rich. No. All right. Well, well, I have two more, but I think we got time for one more.
One more.
So I'll
One
grab the
more
one
song.
that I think is a little bit better. It's short. And this was posted recently also on No Sleep on Reddit. So that thread you can go find it. Like one day ago. and I will pronounce this wrong. Arnest 123 is the poster. So starts off and kind of gives it away or exactly what happened right at the beginning. So I'm gonna kind of skip that part. So there's a little more lore. Here we go. My family was rescued. They don't remember it, but I do. We were on a road trip to Nepal, visiting some relatives who lived on the top of a hill. It was a remote area away from town or streetlights. We were in the final stretch of the journey when our car broke down. The clock had just passed 11 p.m. It was pitch black and there were strange howling sounds in the distance. Not unusual for night noises, but the sounds sounded a little distorted, like animals or something trying to sound like animals. My parents and siblings and I sat in the car trying to stay calm. We locked all the doors, turned off the headlights. We all knew there were wild animals in that area, so stepping out really wasn't an option. I remember the way that my dad kept glancing through the rearview mirror. My mom had gone completely silent, clutching her shawl and muttering prayers under her breath. Even my little brother, who never shuts up, had gone quiet. About 2 hours had passed, and the howls got closer. And that's when it happened. Out of the shadow, a massive tiger appeared. It just emerged, silent, staring, came right up to the car, circling slowly and sniffing at the windows. We froze. I could hear my heart pounding, louder than my thoughts. My dad slowly, very slowly, pressed down on the horn, just one steady honk. The tiger paused, blinked, and without a sound, slinked back into the jungle. We didn't speak. We just sat there in stunned silence. About 3 hours after the breakdown, we saw headlights approaching. It was an ambulance. Confused but relieved, we waved it down. The driver stepped out and he immediately recognized him. He was a distant relative of ours, someone I had met only a few times during family functions. He greeted us like it was nothing unusual and said, "You shouldn't be here this late. Come, I'll take you up." We climbed into the ambulance, and the inside was warm, clean, and surprisingly modern for where we were. He drove us to our relative's house at the top of the hill, making casual, small talk all along the way. Nothing eerie, just normal. When we all got out, we waved goodbye, and he drove off. As we entered the house, I noticed something strange. Everyone was sort of acting like we had just arrived, but not in an ambulance, in our own car. They were chatting about dinner, unpacking luggage, acting like nothing happened, like we didn't break down. I brought it up. The breakdown, the tiger, the ambulance. They all looked at me really confused. What ambulance? We came in the car, my dad said. There's no breakdown. I ran outside, and our car was parked where the ambulance had dropped us off. Perfect condition, not a scratch, no engine trouble. It was cold, like it hadn't been driven in hours. Inside the house, something else made my blood run cold. In the living room, there was this photo framed with garlands, a memorial picture. It was the man who drove us, the relative. I stared in disbelief. My aunt looked at me. He passed away about 3 years ago. You probably don't even remember him. But I do. It was like he was looking me right in the eyes and said, "You're safe now." Everyone else forgot, but I remember everything. And sometimes, even though I live in the city late at night, I hear the distinct horn of that same Nepali ambulance outside my window.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I was wondering, I was like, well, then that guy was dead. But and then
Yeah.
you're like, and there was a memorial. And
There's
I'm
a
like,
memorial with
yeah,
garland all over it. Yeah.
that's interesting. Like, I wonder, sometimes I wonder about that. Like, what have things happened that like the collective just doesn't
Mm.
remember? Or like,
Yeah.
like it said age old, like, did time stop and I didn't know,
Right.
sort of thing. Um, that's neat though. Like, so they I like that story.
Yeah. It's a
It's
different kind of
cool.
story.
But
I
the fact that like nobody but the writer remembers is
yeah.
also very strange. Like, why would the writer be allowed to keep their memory, but the rest of
Yeah.
the family was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, there's a couple like things that like I didn't change much. I just like the very beginning, he like right off the bat, we were saved by a dead relative, and I'm like that gives the whole thing away.
Yeah.
So I kind of eliminated that, and then towards the end, really just to kind of give it a better hook, there's a little confusion because he's looking at the photograph,
Uh-huh.
and the eyes in he says it looked me right in the eyes and said, "You're safe now," and then he vanished into the night. But like I think he meant to say that the person was still there, but it
Yeah.
didn't. So like I kind of just changed it a little bit. So sorry, listeners, but if you want to read the full version, it's on the No Sleep post, and it was really just as of Friday, June 27th. It was posted yesterday. Um,
Wow.
so, but yeah, I thought that was a different story, interesting. And I kind of relate to it, especially with the hearing the sounds out of context,
Mm,
like being in the city, and there's a distinct, like when you think about being in America, the way the ambulances sound, right,
mhm,
or the fire trucks. My sons grew up on a show called Fireman Sam,
mhm.
so for the longest time, whenever they saw, like, we went to a parade or whatever, a fire engine or something like that, they had a completely different sound that they would like go
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm like, that is not how our sirens sound, right? So they kind of looked like they were British or it's Irish or something like that at this parade. Like, oh, that kid doesn't know how the fire truck sounds.
That's funny. I would say that
Yeah,
we you for a fire truck. I mean,
yeah,
I know that's not what it actually sounds like. It has that big horrible
yeah,
like build up, but like yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But
But I
um
can relate to that, like having that weird, like a weird sound in an area where you shouldn't be hearing that. Like that's happened, like not in a creepy, scary way, but to me, like it takes you pause, right?
yeah. So do you think the kid fell asleep and dreamed all that? But then like how do you explain the relative?
Yeah. I don't know. I get the feeling like me and my alien feeling, like that almost like goes that way, right? Like where loss of time, loss of like, like the car was cold. So that's what kind of gives me that like maybe there was a little bit more realism to his rendering and not to the families. Where like the relatives just like, you and I know what happened, but your parents and your brother or whatever can't handle it. Because like if
Mm.
you go out there, like, well, what is that kid going out there with tigers in the middle of the night anyway? But like going out and feeling the car, he's like, and it's cold to the touch. Like
Yeah,
that car didn't just arrive there. So how did it get there? And like, so there is a loss of time. So maybe it was him sleeping,
yeah,
but it didn't seem like that. So
right. That is weird though. Like everybody forgot. But again, like you wouldn't be able to like just explain the relative that died and
yeah,
like had helped them. He didn't know that they were dead. So,
yeah. Those are the stories too that like not maybe just helping from like an accident like this, well maybe he did prevent like them getting eaten by a tiger or something befalling them, but like
right.
I always enjoy those stories and kind of hope that there's like a thread of truth to those things, like
Mhm.
when you're in danger that someone can come back who really cares about you and kind of like it's not your time, we're going to help you through this.
Yeah.
So
Right. Yeah.
um yeah,
Yeah. Sorry. It's
yeah,
just you made me think of a scenario where like they you're like, "Oh, you're here to save me." And instead of hearing like, "No, it's not your time," they're like, "Nah,
nah, you're
it's your
going
time."
down,
Yeah, yeah.
going
I'm just
down.
here to let you know that you're about to die.
Yeah, actually, I'm the cricket that's taking you back.
Yeah, yeah, it's me.
It's
It's
me.
me. I
I said, God, I want to come back as a raccoon, but he said, nope, you're going to be a cricket and you're going to come back and take little Henry back because it's his time.
time. No, it's funny.
Yeah,
But yeah, that made me giggle.
yeah,
Maybe it's happened,
yeah.
like salvation. No.
Nope, sorry.
Sorry.
It's like a twisted version of the story of like where, the guy's like waiting to be rescued from a flood and like
Yeah.
God sends the boat and the
The
kayak and the
helicopter.
helicopter or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so funny that you bring that story up. That's literally the third time this week that that's been brought up.
Oh,
And now I'm sitting here going like, what is that a message for me?
yeah.
Like, am I waiting
There's a
on
portal
something?
in your house. There's a
Yeah,
portal
there's a portal. That's what
that only tells that story. It's everyone that tells that story. It goes through
close.
that portal.
Gotta go close that
They're
portal or
protected by Batman. I'm Batman.
yeah, I gotta go find my Batman. That's exactly what I
Yeah.
was gonna say. No, that's funny. Now I have to go like figure out why I've heard that story three times this week. Talking about
Comes
coincidence
in
with Katie
threes.
last week.
Yeah, there's significance
Yeah.
in threes too.
Yeah, I don't know.
So.
So, before we end, Nick and I are super excited to announce that we've been asked to speak at the Rochester Museum and Science Center October 18th
Yeah.
for their, is it Carnival of Curiosity? Is that what that
The
was?
Carnival of Curiosities.
Yeah, of Curiosities. And I'm so freaking stoked.
Yeah.
Carnival of Curiosity. And we are going to be telling scary stories. So, if you want your scary story to be told on that night, we're going to be speaking for 45 minutes with hopefully like a big crowd. It's going to be
Yeah.
fun.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. We
You
need
don't
some
have to
good
tell your
stories.
story. Yeah, you don't have to tell your story. You can write it down for us and we'll tell it. No worries. And you're more than welcome to tell your story and we'll interview it live.
Ooh.
But we're going to try and live stream that event too,
Yeah.
if you can't make it to Rochester. But very, very excited about this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. For the easy low cost of free 99. Free. We're gonna try to live stream that and get it all up there, but we'll see. But
yeah.
we are really excited about this. So excited. We don't even know how excited we are, Joss.
Also, if you haven't been to the Halloween party at the RMSC, it is super cool. It
No,
is so fun.
it's a big deal.
Um, it is. They have really, really fun like drinks and food and like different sort of like talks and events and things there. So absolutely come take a look
Yeah.
and just yeah, we're gonna keep promoting this throughout the summer.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
For
great.
sure. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, it is that time. Um, and I need to think of what's a good drink, Nick. I haven't been drinking a lot
I
lately.
don't, I haven't either because of the surgery stuff. So whether it's
Oh, that's
like a,
right.
a surgical cocktail or
The
ghosts, keep
surgical
your spirits up.
cocktail. Oh, whether it is a surgical cocktail of drugs or ghosts, keep your spirits up.